With much fanfare, Jordan welcomed their new royal couple this month. The 28-year-old crown prince got married in the event of the decade. But for Jordanians, it might not be that much of a pride. On one hand, there was the extravagant display of privilege, and on the other, there are the rising economic hardships for the common man. Here's a report.
Jordan's royal family expanded this month. The young 28-year-old crown prince married a Saudi architect. But the marital bond, supposed to symbolize the monarchy's modern future, a hope for the country's young, is playing out like a cruel joke. While the royal family wedding generated momentary excitement in Jordan, its luxurious setting and VIP guests also highlighted the vast gulf between the prince's life of privilege and the daily struggles of most Jordanians of his age. Jordan has a population of over 10 million people, 2/3 of which are under the age of 30, a young, dynamic group, one might hope. But in the dilapidated streets of the capital city's poorer districts and in the dusty villages of the countryside, there is little hope for change. Almost half of Jordan's youth today is unemployed. They grumble, but the majority never speaks out. Some dream of leaving the country in hopes of leading a better life. Those who do muster the courage are silenced before they can speak up. Just like other West Asian nations, the story of economic pressure and political repression is common in Jordan.
The situation is tragic. I am not alone. Everyone complains about poverty. If only there were jobs for young people to help them build their future. For those who did not complete their studies, for those who completed their studies as well. There are young people who studied and did not get a job.
Like many of its neighbors, Jordan's once bloated public sector has left the state with little to spend on health and education. On top of that, efforts to slow public hiring and cut subsidies have eroded the social contract that kept citizens compliant. Many blame corrupt officials, and increasingly the palace, for their misery. This is Jasser Al-Haraziz, 28-year-old and co-founder of an AI company, Robotna. He was educated at a public school, an experience Al-Haraziz describes as a disappointment. There were not enough teachers in his schools. The students wandered. His fate would have been the same had Al-Haraziz not got a scholarship that trained him in artificial intelligence. It struck him as absurd that Jordanian schools were teaching by rote, turning curious kids into disciplined subjects at a time when technology is changing. He and some friends began developing a program to teach robotics in Jordan's failing public schools. Their company, called Robotna, now trains thousands of students nationwide.
If we do not develop in this field in Jordan, we will be one of the countries that will lose jobs in the future in the field of programming and artificial intelligence. You know that artificial intelligence will eliminate jobs and programming will eliminate jobs. But at the same time, it will create new jobs. It will create jobs for developing countries who can adapt to the situation. But the countries that will lose jobs, such as developing countries and undeveloped in this field.
But their work is not easy. In a country with no bankruptcy law, failure can mean a prison sentence if debts are not paid. Jordanian tax authorities treat social enterprises as major corporations. Robotna loses nearly 40% of its revenue to taxes each year. Old-fashioned officials routinely block Al-Haraziz and his colleagues from entering schools.